Rule number 2, it belongs to God alone to give consolation to the soul without previous cause. For it belongs to the Creator to enter into the soul, to leave it and act upon it, drawing wholly to the love of his divine majesty. I say without previous cause, that is, without any previous perception or knowledge of any object from which such consolation might come to the soul through its own acts of intellect and will. So, what this is referring to is that, obviously if something, it just came without any natural cause, there was no natural cause for your consolation. There was, I remember Father Barriel's book on this Discernment of Spirits. He said, Anna Maria Teigi, who had all these, you might say, special revelations from God, she was just a housewife. And she had all these special insights into great spiritual matters. And she would talk about them to her confessor. And he asked her, well, have you read a book recently on the Holy Trinity? No, Father. Did you attend a sermon or conference on that doctrine of the Holy Trinity? No, Father. Were you taught by, Jesuits or Dominicans who taught you these things? No, Father. I only went to 5th grade or something, And the priest just said to her, well, then, my daughter, you can be sure that this was from God. This teaching came to you from God because it's true, it's correct. It came from no previous cause. It seems that God is doing something special to your soul. Only God can work a true miracle. Only God can do that. The devil can't work a true miracle. As Father Barriel pointed out in his book, Simon Magus, who was a magician, he was able to raise himself. He was mocking Christ, and he was able to actually elevate himself from the ground like he was going to ascend into heaven. He actually told everyone, I'm going to ascend into heaven. And he was able to elevate himself 1,000 feet into the air. That's a long way up. And this was incredible. It seems like a miracle, right? Seemed like a miracle that, how did he do this? But the apostles that were there, a few of the apostles were there at the time, they knelt down and began to pray. And Simon went, you see, God, only God can work a true miracle. The devil could even lift you off the ground and raise you up into the air, sure. But for what purpose? To what end is that so-called miracle? You see, the devil will sometimes perform some prodigy, but it's to favor bad doctrine or to favor some evil that he wants you to follow after. The devil is very tricky. You have to be very prayerful, and you have to put your trust in God and not rely on yourself. You have to discuss things with your confessor. Go to a priest. Talk about it with somebody who's spiritual. Because if Anna Maria Teigi had not done that, she might have been able to be deceived by the devil. He might have been able to lead her astray. Even though those revelations had been from God at first, the devil could have stepped in and started tricking her. That's why, remember, St. Bernadette, when the Blessed Mother started appearing to her, she would make the sign of the cross. She would pray. She knelt down and took out her rosary, started to pray because she wanted to make sure this was from God. If it was from God, he would be very pleased with those things. And, of course, it was from God, and the Blessed Mother was very pleased with Bernadette for the way she was. But that's why, we don't trust in ourselves. We don't think, God's favoring me with this special insight into the spiritual life. No, we don't trust ourselves. We go to our confessors. We talk about things with somebody who is more learned in the spiritual life to help us, to make sure we're not being deceived. But getting back to what we first said in the second rule, it belongs to God alone to give consolation to the soul without previous cause. Remember Bishop Fillet told that story of that woman who had gone to the Rue de Bac in Paris, at the Shrine of the Miraculous Medal, and she took her little daughter with her because she was so disturbed as to where they should be going to Mass. The Novus Ordo Church with the new Mass was something that just didn't seem right to her. And she took her little daughter to the shrine, and she said to her little daughter, "Go in and ask the Blessed Virgin where we're supposed to go to Mass." It's kind of funny, but the little girl came out a few minutes later, and she said, "Mom, we're supposed to go to Saint Nicholas de Chardonnay." And the mother said, "Wait, that's the Society of St. Pius X. No, that can't be. Those priests are in schism. You go back in and ask her again." And the little girl goes back in again, and it comes out with the same answer. Now, if the little girl had been making it up, she would have changed her answer. And the little girl certainly didn't even know where St. Nicholas de Chardonnay was. She'd never heard of it. And this is what I was saying to you. This had no previous cause. Her little girl did not have any previous knowledge of St. Nicholas de Chardonnay or the Society of St. Pius X. Her little girl didn't know anything about that. This had to be from God. I think the woman had sent her daughter back 3 times because the little girl came out with the same answer. She said, "No, you go back in and tell the Blessed Virgin that those priests are in schism. We cannot go there." The little girl goes back in, and 5 minutes later comes back out to her mom and says, "Mama," she said, "it doesn't matter. Go to St. Nicholas de Chardonnay." And the the mother just said, "All right, we will." And the family started going to Mass, the traditional Mass at St. Nicholas de Chardonnay in Paris, and became regular members of the parish. And the mom told Bishop Fillet that story. It always makes me laugh because I always wonder, the mother she didn't consider it any big deal that her daughter was talking to the Blessed Virgin. She just said, "No, you go back and tell her." No, it can't be that. But anyway, the reason I mention that is because it came from no previous cause. Her daughter couldn't have made it up, you see. That's a sign that it's truly from God, that it came from nothing that her daughter had read or seen. Or, it's the same thing with Anna Maria Taigi that we mentioned. The devil always is able to do things, but you're able to see that they don't lead to a good end.